Hi guys, welcome back to the Wargamer and another Games Workshop painting tutorial. In this video I'll be showing you how to paint the Kurnoth Hunters in an autumn theme, and I'll be using the Citadel range of paints to do so. Before we can begin painting our Kurnoth Hunter, we first of all need to prime it, and for this I've used a grey spray primer. You can pretty much use any primer you wish, but the grey will really help when tackling some of the lighter colours later on. Now, one of the things I've also done is kept some of the components separate, as this will make paintings in those hard to reach areas a lot easier. So I've kept the arms, the head and also the branches emanating from the shoulders separate. Now, the first area of this miniature that I'll be tackling will be the lighter coloured bark areas, and for this I'll be using Rakarth Flesh. Now, with the base coat you want to create a mixture of 1 part paint to 1 part water. Apply this over the surface, allow it to dry thoroughly and then apply a second layer over the top. By doing this we get a really nice strong base colour without obscuring the details by applying the paint too thickly. The areas that you'll need to paint with the Rakarth Flesh include the arms, the areas just below the knee and also the neck area as well. Following our base coat of Rakarth Flesh, the next step in painting these lighter bark areas is to apply a wash of Seraphim Sepia. Now, this wash will slightly stain the colour of these Rakarth Flesh areas and also flow into those recesses, enhance the shading and ultimately really bring out that detail. Now, as a personal preference, I prefer to create a mixture of 2 parts wash to 1 part water, as this ultimately gives us a more subtle wash, but do feel free to use it straight out of the pot if you wish. With the wash of Seraphim Sepia completed, the next step is to highlight using Ushabti Bone. Now, to highlight, use a very small amount of paint on the tip of your brush and lightly drag it along the raised edges. This will create a thin line of lighter paint and really help to bring out the detailing in these areas. With the lighter areas around the limbs completed, we can now start working on the bark that is on the rest of the miniature. For this we want to start off with a base coat of Mournfang Brown. Now, the reddish brown hue of Mournfang Brown will act as an excellent starting off point for the warm palette that we'll be using in the rest of this miniature. With the base coat completed, we can now apply a wash of Agrax Earthshade over the areas that we painted with Mournfang Brown. The great thing about using a brown wash instead of a black wash at this stage is it'll still darken down the recesses and help to bring out the details, but it won't damage the warm hue that we've already achieved with the base coat. After allowing the wash to thoroughly dry, the next step is to start applying a highlight using Skrag Brown. Now, as well as using it as a highlight, you can also use the Skrag Brown to paint some lines into the more flatter areas of the miniature. This will give the effect of a wood grain, which is great for enhancing the wood effect that this miniature already has. The final step in painting the brown bark on this miniature is to apply an extreme highlight of Jokaero Orange. Now, an extreme highlight can be applied in the exact same way as a regular highlight, but instead of highlighting all of the edges, we're instead going to be focusing on some of the more prominent sections. As you can see, I've been using the Jokaero Orange to pick out some more prominent points in the bark. The next area of this miniature that I'll be painting will be the small teardrop shape inside the Kurnoth Hunter's chest. Now, we'll be painting this first of all using a base coat of Sotek Green. Following the base coat, we can darken down the recesses with the wash of Drankenhof Nightshade. The final step in painting the teardrop is to use a highlight of Temple Guard Blue. Now, the reason for using blue on this section of the miniature is to make it really stand out against the other warmer colours that we'll be using across the rest of the miniature. The next area of this miniature that I'll be tackling will be the branches emanating from the Kurnoth Hunter. Now, I'm going to be starting by base coating these areas using Averland Sunset. The next task in painting the branches after the base coat is to apply a wash of Fuegan Orange. Now, the reason for this is we want to give the branches a slightly more orangey colour, but also darken down those recesses and really bring out the detail. The final step in painting the branches is to apply a highlight of Yriel Yellow. With the branches completed, we can now start painting the leaves that are on those branches. Now, we want to start off with a base coat of Mephiston Red for these areas, which will give us that really nice autumnal leaf colour. With the base coat of Mephiston Red completed, we now want to darken down the colour of the leaves ever so slightly with a wash of Agrax Earthshade. To finish off painting the leaves, I'll now be applying a highlight of Wazdakka Red to the edges and the tips of the leaves. The next area of our Kurnoth Hunter that we wish to paint is any weaponry that they are carrying. Now, we want to start off with a base coat of Celestra Grey, and the reason we're using this one is we want to have something which will contrast nicely against the warm colours, so we're going to be using some quite cool colours for these particular areas. In addition to the weaponry, you can also paint the eyes and any of the carved in markings on the body of the Kurnoth Hunter with the Celestra Grey as well. The next step in painting the weaponry and any other areas that we base coated with Celestra Grey is to wash over them using Nihilakh Oxide. Now, by using Nihilakh Oxide on these areas, we will achieve a ghostly blue effect, which will contrast really nicely against the warm colours that we've got on the rest of the miniature, and also give the impression that these weapons are summoned rather than actually physical objects. The final step in painting our Kurnoth Hunter is to add an edge highlight to all the ghostly blue areas that we've painted in the last couple of steps. And here we have the completed Kurnoth Hunter, who you can see I fully assembled and also based. In the description below you can find a full list of the paints that I've used in this video, along with links to both my Facebook and my Instagram pages. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please do let me know in the comments below, and also make sure you subscribe to be kept up to date with all of my latest videos. And finally, a big thank you to my Patreon supporters. It's you guys who make these videos possible, so a big thank you to you for supporting me, and if you're interested in supporting me as well, you can do so by checking out the link in the description. From there you can go to my Patreon page where you can donate to me from as little as $1 a month, which just really help me in producing future tutorials. So all that's left to say is thanks for watching, and goodbye.